All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Hoops Journey, episode 153. You heard that correct. Coming up on 5 years of podcasting, sharing stories of Canadians and ballers. And we were just chopping it up offline. I really do appreciate sometimes you get an episode and you just get right into it. I do like when the guest, asks a few questions and we have a little bit of a conversation because sometimes it is the first time we've met each other face to face and just get a little bit of a connection before. A guy that I've had on my draft list of people I want to chop it up with. And we are super thrilled. One of the GOATs of Ottawa GG's history, Canadian baller, a fantastic story. We've got none other than Mr. Warren Ward with us today. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for the introduction. You make me I'm blushing.
Come on,
Appreciate
man.
it, man. Appreciate it. Glad to be here. I love podcasting. I love talking basketball. So thrilled to be here. Thanks for reaching out. I think what you're
Yeah,
doing is phenomenal and it gives a lot of people a platform. So always happy to, you know, I guess be a part of that journey.
amazing. Yeah, man, it's fun, and you're on the other side of it too. And like I was just telling you, we got a bit of a snow day here. The whole city shuts down. I don't know how Vancouver considers itself an international city now, and every time we get our 2 days of snow a year, the place just shuts down. It's embarrassing, but I was going to be in my athletic director's office recording, but I'm in the comfort of my own home, so that's great. And how's things with you, man? Life, you're telling us you're working for a company based out of LA, so you got some interesting hours. You find yourself doing a little bit of podcasting. I wanted to ask a few questions about that, but give us an idea of what your day to day is like.
Well, I work in tech sales. I've been in sales now since I pretty much retired. I started off as a recruiter, and then I got a job at a big firm called Salesforce. And I worked there for a year. I left there and I got into e-commerce, and I've been in e-commerce now for the past 3 years. And I work for this company based out of LA called Quickly. Love the company, love my boss. She's amazing. Hardest working woman I think I've ever met in my life.
So,
She had a baby and then came back to work like the next day. Like she doesn't play. Yeah, 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 man. I trust me. So she doesn't play. Really, really enjoy what I'm doing there right now. And then outside of that, I broadcast. So I've been a broadcaster since 2018, since I stopped playing. Wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I said, let me just try any and everything. And
hmm
kind of stuck. And I've been very fortunate to be a broadcaster for the Raptors 905, the Scarborough Shooting Stars, and the Toronto Raptors themselves. So I work with TSN, MLSC, and Scarborough, and I do those simultaneously throughout the day. So today's Tuesday. I have a game tomorrow. Raptors game. They play Memphis. Game on Friday. 9:05 are playing the Orlando Magic affiliate. So my week is consistent, full of a day job and then working in the evenings.
Sheesh. So what are the sleep hours like, man?
You know what? I have a good balance. Like I really
Mm,
do. I do not find myself overworked or tired.
nice.
I've never really been the type of person to complain about work. I mean, I think the baseline to entry is hard work. So
Mm.
I don't. I'm very fortunate to do what I do. I'm well paid, and I don't complain.
Yeah. Ain't nobody listening anyways. But
Exactly.
okay, so you talked about the broadcasting thing. One that makes me jealous. I've always thought about, obviously getting into a podcast, but like before I thought of myself as a teacher, I thought, maybe counseling would be good, as a like to connect with people. And then I thought broadcasting. So how did that come about? Was it a former player? Was it a connection through a connection? Um, how does that interview process work? I mean, like, just intrigued about that because it's a super unique thing. Like, I'm a huge Tim McAuliffe guy. We've had him on the show, right? And what he's been able to do. Yeah, he was when I was playing U Sport. He was like still with the score, doing sideline
Mhm.
reporting at the games and stuff. And so, just curious how people are able to crack into that industry find a role in there. It's dope
OG
too.
Tim, man. Yeah, OG Tim.
Yeah.
I love what he's done. He's called a few of my games even back in the
hmm
day. So how you get in? Yeah, no, great question. Everyone asks that. I'll say
Oh,
it like
everyone, huh? So it's just, yeah, okay. Thanks a lot. Taking shots already. Three man.
no shot, no shot. But a lot of people ask the broadcasters how to get into the industry,
hmm
and I can say it's not us. We don't make decisions, but I'll
Yeah.
be the first one to tell you who I know has helped me get in, in this position. and I keep my job because of how competent and how good I am at it.
Love
So
that.
I'll always tell people that it's not, this is not a reflection of just hard work. Hard work does, like I said, that's just the barrier to entry. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough to know someone who believed that I'd be good at this role. They put my name forward for it, and just due to that recommendation, that's how I got my first opportunity. That was taken from me. I was let go after 1 year, and then 2 years later, another friend of mine saw my demo tape and was like, "Man, like you should do this again." And I was like, "This is just during the pandemic." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"I don't know, man. It's kind of bad blood and whatever." And like, no, no, no. So she put my tape forward, and she works for the Raptors, and
Oh,
that ended up going from MLSC to TSN. Met with them, and that's how I got my opportunity. I've been there for 3 years.
love it, man.
Yeah,
And it, like, really upon your reflection, see if you believe it. Anybody that listens to this show too much is going to vomit once again while I mention this. But like leadership, anything in life, it's really about relationships. You know what I mean? And
and
you, those people that you can lean on or to go, they're sitting in that board meeting and like, hey, if you have any names or think of anyone that could do this role, and they're like, I got someone, because it's like, one, they know you're a hard worker. Two, they know you're, extroverted and you're going to be good for the role. But three, they're going to put their name on the line because you got a relationship with them. I think that's really, really dope.
yeah, that is the baseline in my work. Like as a sales professional, this is why AI or robots or anything else won't come for every job, because you
Mm,
don't trust the robot. You build a relationship with someone, and based upon their recommendation or whatever they say, most of the time people buy for me because they like me, not because of the product. If they
yeah,
just wanted the product, they wouldn't come to me. They could go online and look at it. They want to know who they're dealing with and figure out if they can trust this individual. So,
yeah,
relationships are the key to I think everybody's success. And I don't pretend as though I'm in the position I am just because, I'm someone who considers themselves to be, hardworking and very diligent, and someone who, I'll push myself, as hard as I can go. But I will never say that I'm here just because of myself. I'm not. That'd be very foolish.
mhm, no
Yeah.
doubt. But I mean, it's like people set the table for you. You still got to get it done,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
said. I've been here 3 years because
yeah,
I'm competent at what I do. I know how to do it.
yeah.
I believe I'm very good at it, and
Hmm.
that's why I still have a position. But I was able to skip steps and get through the door because of the people who believe that I'm good enough to go ahead and do so.
What's a game day routine? Do you have a routine? Do you,
Absolutely,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You do
yeah,
have
yeah.
those playing day routines snuck into a life now for you? And what is, is it notes? Is it, do we eat
Yeah.
the same meal? Do we tie the shoe on the same way? Like I find that there's some weird things I do too still, but
No, no meal. I'll eat whatever I feel
yeah.
like at the time. No tying of the shoes, but I'm very detail oriented when it comes to my notes. I don't like to go to a game unprepared,
Yeah.
in terms of the scouting report and who's around. And I always like I use my notepad on my phone and on my computer here. And
Hmm.
it's going back 3 years now with all the stats and all the things that I look for in a game. I'm very pattern driven. So there's 82 games in an NBA season. So I will compare 10 games at a time, because after 10 games, I think that'll give you a good indication of someone's habits, and including the
Hmm.
team's habits. So I'll compare in 8 blocks. And then the last 2 games don't really matter anyway. So it's like
Yeah.
eight block comparisons, and that's what I'll look for, and I'll see, okay, what has Shea Gilgeous-Alexander done over the last 10 games?
Mm,
What has he done defensively in the last 10 games? Where is his weak points? Where is his strengths? He doesn't have too many weaknesses, but
mm.
where, he's probably the worst example I could give,
Yeah, it's
but
all right. Shout out, yeah, shout out, good Canadian boy. I
shout
love
out
it.
a
Yeah,
great Canadian, exactly. So,
yeah.
it's like I'll look for those 10, and at any level, I'll look for about 10 games, and try and find whether it's consistencies, anything that gives me a good talking point,
Hmm.
and that's how I prepare. So I have a whole notepad, and like that's probably the only thing I'll do
Amazing.
in terms of pregame. So like tomorrow morning, I'll get ready for the game against Memphis, and I'll look at tonight's game because they play the Knicks. So I'll look
Hmm.
at it today. I look at what they've done. They're 8-2 in the month. So, or 9-2 in the month, I
Yeah,
think.
they're playing well. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very well.
Dope. Love that. It's like, yeah, essentially a scouting report, but I like that idea of like blocks of 10 because as you see the patterns come out, right?
Yeah.
It's not a one-off. And then before we chop it up about kind of your upbringing and stuff, like why the podcast thing, you sound like a pretty busy dude. Like you sound like you're filling a lot of buckets and there's a lot of different things you could be doing. Give your show a little shout out. I've checked it out a little bit. I'm going to dive more into it, but it looks like it's great stuff. Those are my dreams and hopes, man, is to have a little spot where I can sit down with people, maybe a budget, shout out to people who want to donate. You know what I mean? Just like a
Yeah,
little more
man.
personal.
Hey.
But yeah, why that? Why did you decide to step into that space too, man? And how's it
Uh,
been?
been doing it now a year and some change. Oh,
Damn.
2 years. Is it 2 years?
I was gonna say fly by, right?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
even remember how
Yeah.
long we've been doing it, but it hasn't
Yeah.
been that long. I think, no, this is our second season. So I've been doing it
Mhm.
1 year. We started last November. Why? Very easy. I believe that there are more athletes. If we look at athletics as a pinnacle,
Mm.
right? There's more people at the bottom of this triangle than at the top.
Mm.
I believe that there is a missing gap and a missing conversation about what athletes and what people do in life transitions. We glorify the successes. We glorify your attainments, and it's very hard, or not hard, but it actually it is hard. It's very hard for people to discuss and talk about the ugly side to that. And at a young
Yeah.
age, I made a choice about what I want to do with my life, and I'm dealing with those consequences, both positive and negatively.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't play basketball, but I
Mm.
also wouldn't be here if I didn't play basketball, if that makes sense, So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't be speaking to you. So I don't regret what I've done, but I also think there's another side to that about what people do after and how they achieve those, whatever they want to achieve. I've seen a lot of athletes disappear completely off of social media because their identity is tied to, them being a basketball player. They no longer think that they're cool or worthy or important because the phones, if I called to go to a restaurant before, someone's answering really
Hey.
fast, and now I don't play anymore, and that phone is, it's not, it might ring out. And
It's
I have
facts.
found that a lot of people, especially when I stopped playing and I started to appear more on TV, they thought I had shit figured out. I don't know if I,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Nah,
Uh,
go for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
uh, they thought I had shit figured out. And deep down, when 2018 to after that, it was hard. I didn't know what to do. I lost a lot of money because I was injured all the time. I had an injury plagued career, so every time I would think I'd be achieving something, I would tear something, ACL, Achilles, ACL again, and it was hard to say, all right, I'm done. And
Mm.
everybody who knew my name for basketball. They didn't know my name for anything else other than that. So it was really
Mm.
hard for me to say, yeah, you know what? I looked in the mirror and I'm proud of myself, and like, well, I don't feel accomplished. I don't. It's hard, and not only that, I have to start at the very bottom of the totem pole because
Yeah.
I didn't make it to the top level. I don't have 1.2 to start a business, and even if I did, what business would I start? Do I know how to
Yeah.
file taxes in that business? Do I know how to hire somebody in that business? Do I know how to run and operate a company? Because companies, most of them fail, as we know, but most people, when they start a business, they want longevity. In order to have that, you need to have a lot of shit in place. So, not knowing how to do that, not knowing any of those skills, I'm just talking. It's a pipe dream, essentially. So,
Mm.
I found that I needed to put that somewhere, and I'm not someone who really puts like, I just have photos on my Instagram. I don't really give my opinion on things. I'm not outspoken social media wise. I've always kind of been like that.
Mhm.
But this was the first time I decided to put myself out there and just let people see that what I'm discussing, because I felt in 10, 12 years time, I'm not going to look back and regret this. I
Yeah,
think
man. Yeah.
important. There's a lot of people who really suffer and have been very, like, not as fortunate as me. I'm a yapper, so I just did that, and now I can go on and discuss something else online. But there's a lot of
Hmm.
people who are shy, and they're afraid of judgment. I'm not afraid of judgment. I don't care what anyone thinks. Most of the time, they're not going to tell me anyway. So
Yeah.
it really matter. And I know when I'm dead, I'm not going to look back and say, I regretted this. So to answer your question, that's why I felt as though it's a needed conversation that nobody was having. And I wondered why no one would even cared about it. So
Mm,
gotten a lot of love and a lot of responses from it, and it's helped a lot of people. So
yeah.
I'm very proud of it.
Good on you. You should be, man. Yeah, like, man, church on a Tuesday. Let's go. I love it. It's actually really funny how this all played out because I had an appointment with my counselor yesterday. I try to check in every now and then, even when things are just straight with me. We just chop it up. He's a really good guy. And he was just kind of asking about life. And I mentioned how I was going to take a step back from coaching. And he's like, whoa, like basketball's been such a big part of your life. Like,
Yeah, man.
you're a great high school player. You're all Canadian in college. You went on da 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 da. And he's like, you know what term he used? He's like, how's that sense of grief for you? And I was like, damn. And what you're describing to me is exactly it is that even the Steve Nashes or the Shays, when it all comes to an end, or whoever it is, Kia Nurse, how things have unfolded for her health wise, there's a grief period about like, what's the next thing? And I think that's what you're touching on, man. And it's very, very good. And all the power to you. If there's any way I can ever help or, connect or whatever, man, just keep doing you and give the pod a shout out so everybody can give it a follow
Yeah,
that's
man.
listening to this because it's,
You Only Die Twice. That's the name of it. It's
yeah.
about athletes having two lives, and it's exactly right. Grief. It's
Mm,
that is essentially the word. And I had to go back and work right away, so I didn't even really get to grieve.
yeah.
My own athletic death, and not everyone gets the time or has the budget to do so. So
Mm,
that's the podcast. Give it a follow. Give it a listen.
hmm.
You'll definitely see some of the guests we've had and the people that we're gonna continue to interview. We just had Danny Green on there.
Hey,
And that's proof of concept for me when someone worth, over 100 million has the same sort of talking points that we do.
right?
So I think that's why we do it, and that's why we're gonna continue to. I'm just gonna try
Amazing.
light because it's a little dark.
Yeah,
I'm not
man.
that black.
Still only 2 o'clock here. You're coming up to 5:20, man. Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go. I love.
sun's setting over here, so I
Yeah,
don't have a ring light or anything, but it
all
is what
good,
it is.
all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Okay, like I love it. So this could be a 4 hour episode, but we won't bore the people with that. But like I love it. Such a descriptive part of your journey already. Let's go back in time for you, man. Life growing up. Why was basketball the thing that separated itself for you? And like, where'd you grow up and kind of what was life like for you?
Born in London, Ontario. I'm the youngest of three. I have two older sisters, and my middle sister was a phenomenal basketball player. So shout out to Janelle Ward.
Boom.
She's now a doctor. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So big, big time, big time. And then my oldest
Still in
sister.
Ontario or somewhere else?
Sorry.
Is she still in Ontario or somewhere else?
Yeah, yeah, she's here.
Yeah, yeah,
She lives in she's in Brampton. My other sister is in Pickering now, the
yep.
oldest. So we're all pretty close. I live right downtown, so I'm kind of stuck in between a little bit.
Hmm.
And my parents are also in Brampton, but hardworking people. And we left London when I was 12. I was a soccer player, big time soccer player. So I'm a big fan of football. I took my dad last year. We went to Manchester United as my team.
I was gonna say, okay, Manchester's the team. All right. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So we went to go watch a game last year. Just something to do for us, a bucket list activity. And
How was
uh,
that?
oh man, it was amazing. They
I
they
bet.
did lose. They lost to Arsenal 1-0, but those are the two teams I kind of grew up watching as a kid, and I fell in love with the sport. So I'm still a massive football fan, and I was always around sports, but I
Hmm.
didn't understand like that there's an intelligence to movement. I didn't understand that back then. So I wasn't the best student at the time, and I still probably talked a bit too much back then, if you ask my mother. But in terms of my upbringing, hard, disciplined, and very education focused. Very education focused. So sports was an outlet for me. Always loved to be on the move, running around. Always found joy in that and competing at a
Hmm.
very young age. And then when we moved to Brampton when I was 12, and I went to Deauville, and I was coached. I don't know if you know Carlos Zaffaneri, but he coached myself and a lot of really good players in Brampton. Tristan Thompson went to my high school as well. So it was a lot of really, really good, talented basketball players. And at high school was when I was like, for whatever reason, I played football too skinny, way too soft. Took off my helmet, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm done with this. And then I ended up just I was always good at basketball, but I played soccer, so I didn't take it seriously. And then I had a bit of an injury for whatever reason within soccer, and I said, you know what? I told my dad we're driving home from practice. I'll never forget it. We're driving home from practice, and I was like, I think I'm done with soccer. I
Wow.
don't think I'm done. I think I'm done with it. And he was like, oh, okay. And then from then on, I just switched sports and I started playing basketball, and I was about 13, 14, and I said, I'm gonna go play pro. That's what I'm gonna be a professional basketball player. That's what I want to do. And at the time, the same high school coach, Carlos Zaffaneri, he called me a tweener. He said,
Hey.
"You're not you're not big enough to be a big, but you're not fast enough to be a guard." And he goes, "You got to make a decision on what you want to do." And I was at this time because of high school, we started doing plyometrics and we started working out after high school. I started to get into the weight room, but I was just so weak. I wasn't
Hmm.
strong. And I decided, like I really decided, like this is what I'm gonna do. And I started watching a lot more Tracy McGrady. And
Hey.
because of that, I decided, well, this guy's 6'8", he's skinny. I'm not that tall, but I hope I get to that, I get to that height. I ended up being 6'5", but my game was very, I could move, I mean, for a guard, and I had a good pull up, and I was very shifty, not the fastest up and down, but very quick. So all those things kind of helped me as I developed, and I just never really gave myself another option. No matter what anyone said, or no matter what, not being recruited by everybody at the time. I think most schools in Canada did, but at that time it was hard to go D1, like really hard. So
Yeah.
I was trying my best to get a scholarship. I ended up going to 5 star. I won player of the camp at 5 star. This is with Kemba Walker. He was
Hey.
actually my roommate, funny enough. Yeah, at 5 star. Ended up winning player of the camp. So I got some love from Division 1 schools. But I had to go to junior college first.
Yeah.
And once we went down to Wabash Junior College in Indiana, I was like 16, 17. It looked like an elementary school. So
Yeah.
me and my dad, he was like, my dad asked me, and I also won't forget this. He goes, "How did it feel? How does it feel to be here?" And I was like, "Nah, this ain't it. This
Hmm.
ain't it at all." And we came back home, and I went to another camp in Michigan. Again, dominated the camp in Michigan. Come back home, and I walk in the door from Michigan. My dad drove me. This is when we started to really bond a lot because he was driving to all these tournaments. So started talking more and more. And like I remember that more than most of the games and the practice and all that stuff. I remember the conversation. So I walk in the door now, and the phone rings, and it's Dave Deaveiro. And
Shout out.
shout out Dave Deaveiro. Dave Deaveiro sounded like an American. I thought he was black, to be honest. I
Yeah.
thought he sounded like a brother to me. So I was like, he sounded like an American. He was like, Ottawa, you never heard of Ottawa, never even thought Ottawa would be on my radar for schools. At that time, I think it was York was the heaviest recruiting me. I thought closest to home. Both of
Yep.
the coaches at the time came out to recruit me. So I was like, maybe York it is. My sister had went to York as well, so I was like, it's close. Why not? But that was the last person to really come and recruit me. And then after that, he started showing up. We went out, built a good relationship. I went to Ottawa. It was a school downtown. They had a good team, and I was sold. So I ended up going there.
Love it. Seems like so pretty late start to hoops, right? I mean,
Yeah, very
considered
late.
by, like not even just doing a little grassroots, like dribbling on the weekends, stuff like that. What was it about? Like, why did it just click like that? Why the car ride going, I think I'm done with soccer. Was there some buddies that were involved in it? Was it coach that saw something in you having those conversations? Like, why did it, why at 13 years old, 14? And I think it's also very powerful because we're in a time right now where it's like, you got to specialize when you're 9 years old, and you got to get 1,000 shots up when you're
Yeah.
10. And I think to
Yeah.
still hear those stories, because you're not an old dog, man, you're a young guy.
Yeah.
So this isn't that long ago. And so to see that, like, you can still shift. It's just, it's like the guy over your shoulder there, like Kobe. If you're going to have a mentality of, I'm going after it, you can accomplish it, right? So I'm just doing what I do on this show. I say 400 questions in one. So it's all yours,
No,
my guy.
all good, all good. You asked why? I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
My two of my friends had said, "Man, you were always better at basketball than you were soccer. We just didn't tell you."
Oh,
So there was that.
thanks a
And
lot, guys.
when, yeah, then when I
They
got
want to hurt your feelings, probably though. They're probably thinking this is his sport. He's watching, watching Manchester every Saturday morning. He's getting up
basically,
early. Like they see
yeah,
how much you love it, right? So like we don't want to crush him, but
and
yeah.
I was good. But then when I came here,
Hmm.
found out I wasn't that good. Like
Hmm.
those practices. So the team that recruited me to come, like when my dad told the coach, so it was a coach by Brampton A's. That was the team. That coach saw me play in a tournament and was like, I want you to come to Brampton to you know what I mean to play for us.
Yeah.
So I do. We end up going. I go to the practices, and then I find out like I'm not that good. Like I'm I'm good, but I ain't that good because those kids were miles better than me, faster, better touch with the better control. Like I couldn't compete essentially.
Hmm.
So it was a bit of like a realization that this wasn't for me because I'm getting destroyed,
Hmm.
and I'm coming off of a team where I'm one of the best players. Like when I'm 8, 9, 10 years old, I'm scoring 7, 8 goals a game.
Yeah.
Even I'm playing up. I'm 9. I'm playing with under 11, and I'm
Yeah.
still scoring three. And I'm a midfielder. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, midfielder or striker, and like I'm scoring goals. So it was hard for me to do so. Also, I'm right-handed, left-footed, which is very rare in football. Like
Mm.
one other person I know. Well, there's others, but like Gareth Bale is like
Yeah.
that, for
Oh,
example.
okay.
Left foot, same with me. I was very good with my left foot at the time. Not so much. And after about 12. So I think that combination of things and like also, I think I didn't grow up with a phone, so I want to say like I had quiet time and my intuition where I could just go outside and play with a basketball and get a feel for it, like really
Hmm.
feel what it would feel like. And then also some of the movies that I watch really influenced me. He Got Game was a big one. When that came out, I was like, yeah, no, I'm definitely need to be Jesus Shuttlesworth. I need to go to a school and get recruited and be in the bed with the two girls, all that,
Yeah. Yeah.
all that
Shout out
stuff.
Rick Fox.
Exactly, man. All of that, man. I need to experience all these cool things that basketball can provide. And I think that's why I fell in love with the game. I
Hmm.
fell in love with practicing. I fell in love with trying to get better. I remember days especially in high school, I didn't have very many friends at the time. I would be skipping parties and I would be outside in the rain shooting jump shots on my net. My parents bought a net. Me and my
Hmm.
sister would practice, and I would be over there. I would skip all that stuff just to go and practice. So I'm not saying that my practice is why I became successful. I just
Sure.
knew that I had a real intention and a want to play the game, and I didn't care about anything else. And I think that is why I was able to make that switch and be able to get better as fast as I did.
Hmm. Hmm. That's good stuff. Love it. Also love, Coach Deaveiro. Like, I love what you're talking about him, but like Ottawa, such a good spot, like you said, great program.
Yeah, man.
And James has been able to carry on the success that Coach built there. But just talk about those years there. So many good teams, deep runs, got close.
Yeah, very.
All Canadian.
Yeah.
Things like that. Lots of personal success, but you know, uh, I'm interested too. Like maybe if there was something else other than just the place in Indiana, would things have changed, or was Indiana just so bad that you were like, "Yo, I'm getting visions of like what's the the Netflix the special they do the football and the JUCO basketball.
Oh, yeah,
You know
the
what I'm
grit
talking about?
thing or whatever, the grit. I forget the name,
Yeah.
but I know what you're talking about.
And like the residence looks like it's like a brick building, and you're like, damn, this looks rough. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
it
yeah,
was really bad. It was like I knew for a fact there was no education gonna be
sure.
out there. My parents were not having that.
Mm,
But James, sorry, well, Deaveiro first. I had 2 great years with Deaveiro. There's also a guy by Josh Gibson Bascom, Dax Desereau, Dave Lebenowitz, Donnie Gibson. These are all guys that I got a chance to play with and learn from. And I was like my first practice at Ottawa U, actually, my mom dropped me off. And my mom and my aunt are upstairs watching, and me and Dave Lebenowitz, after working a day at camp, we all play one-on-one.
sure.
Me, Billy Manigat, Dave Lebenowitz, and mind you, I'm recruited to the school. I'm one of their I'm one of their bigger recruits. I don't go to Wabash. I don't go to Wabash because it looked like shit, to be honest.
Yeah,
Now, mind you, had I gone to Wabash, I probably would have ended up going D1. Like
sure.
Indiana was legitimately
Yeah,
interested in me. There have
right.
been other, Middle Tennessee. There's some small schools. Indiana was the biggest. But I choose to go to Ottawa. That first practice, Dave Lebenowitz checks the ball, elbows me right across the face in front of my mom and my aunt. I get up. He goes, "Welcome to the CIS, bitch." That's like this is it was a very hard nose. You have to work for everything type of team.
Mm,
Like, they did not respect me right away. I had to earn it. And Dave gave me an opportunity to do so. I was a starter at some point that came off the bench, but I got opportunity.
mhm.
And as bad as I was defensively, he kept on harping on it. And I'll say this too, like I never got credit for being a defensive player because I was so much better offensively.
Sure.
Even though what I did play defense and I did like who doesn't want to get steals and get dunks? Like I got to be an idiot not to want to do that. So like the people who always said that about me, I never really understood it. Maybe I didn't play defense to your caliber, but you probably couldn't score like I could have. So
Right.
it's like it was a give and take. I'd have to segue that, but
Love it.
yeah, but my first 2 years were great learning, and then what I did, and this is probably my 5 years of Ottawa U that I believe separated me from other people in the country and other basketball players all over the world. I was a big fish in a small pond, and the confidence I built at Ottawa U as a basketball player stuck with me throughout
Mm,
the rest of my life, so at
mhm.
least thus far. It's really stuck with me. My first year to my second year, I improved drastically to the point where the same guys who, because in the off season, most guys go home, right?
Yep.
They go home and they work jobs and they do things and they make money. I didn't give one rat's ass about none of that. I had a work study program. I think I was living off of like $500,
Yeah.
plus
Oof.
paying. I stayed in a dorm, right? So my
Yep.
parents covered my tuition at that time, and I made just enough money to buy my groceries, and I worked out all summer. I had my trainer, Alan Horton, and we worked out and we practiced all year, all summer long. I did not take a day. I'm talking like 2 a days. And I believe that
Hmm.
that work that I put in, that I and it wasn't just practicing. Like I'm not talking putting up 500 shots. I mean like I'm getting to the spots I'm going to get to in a game and I'm shooting that shot. And
Hmm.
I'm working out so that I'm strong enough to be able to withstand, the length of a season. And I'm working on my handle to the point where it's like this is exactly what I'm going to do in transition. This is what I'm going to do in the half court. These are the sets. This
Love that.
all of the small details that I could take from the season before, and I got better my second season
Hmm.
by a long shot, to the point where those same guys, Dave Lebenowitz, looked to Dave and said, Warren's the best player on the team now in my second season. So I was able to take that jump, and then I continued to do that year in, year out. And that was my formula because it worked. It worked for me. Like I said, I think most people would agree most basketball players work hard, but does your work for you? Because unless the stuff you're doing shows up in the game, if you want to wake up at 4 a.m., like Kobe used to do, and shoot jump shots, 1,000 jump shots, and then go to practice at 7 a.m., it better lead to you scoring 30 or 40 or whatever you got to do in the game, or you know what I mean, or getting 20 rebounds. Because what happens to a lot of people is they work out, they practice all, and then when the game comes and people are watching and the lights are bright or something happens, they lose focus and they can no longer do what they did in practice. We all know practice guys that are Michael Jordan in practice. The game comes, they turn into somebody else. I'm not one of those people. And
Mhm.
you need to make sure that your work worked for you. And I found in my 5 years, that's what happened to me. I got bigger, I got taller. Yes, it helped. I have a long wingspan that helped, but me working out and doing all those things over the course of 5 years, even throughout injury, I was able to find a way to make sure everything that I did translated into the results, because it's a result based business. Forget
Absolutely.
game. It's a result based business. So I'm most proud of that in my 5 years. And also, I wasn't the best teammate because I was so focused on trying to get to where I needed to get to as a professional. I had dreams of, retiring my parents, and
Mm,
I thought that's what I had to do, and I thought I needed to make money. So I was like, my teammates are in my way.
mm,
I don't want to be friends with you. You're in my way. I don't care about whatever you guys are talking about. Everybody's in the way of me trying to attain my goal. And then it wasn't until I got a bit older that I understood that no, like embracing and giving to people is how you achieve that. So that would be the thing that I'm most proud of, and probably the thing that I would change if I could go back. Uh,
mm,
would be I would just be more embracing of everybody around me, because now I am.
mhm. I mean, but that's life though, right? And if we don't grow and learn, then and reflect, then you
Yeah.
know what I mean. So that's good stuff. Do you ever find too, or think about like maybe because you started a little bit quote unquote later than others at the game of hoops, like it benefited your careers, like because you're still like you have that freshman year, you're still able to hang, and then you realize, damn, I'm really gonna dive in here. Whereas maybe some guys are doing that. Not to say that you weren't going that hard before, but you know what I mean, like.
Yeah,
And you're
I
right too,
wasn't.
like yeah,
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 yeah. I wasn't. Trust me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, just to like elevate yourself to that next level. Because, and the thing too, Canadian sport, you sport, like 5 years is a long damn time. If you put the work in and trust the process and work at it, like that fourth and fifth year can be killer years for you. You know, if you just keep working at it and not bail on the program or start disbelieving in yourself, like to stick with it, good things can really come. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely, man. Now, I think if I had started playing early, maybe I would have probably been a bit better. But I mean, who's to know? I mean,
Sure.
I think kids who put pressure on themselves to be doing, like, double dribble reverse layups and stuff. I don't know, like whatever moves these kids come up with now when they're 9 with both hands, like it's impressive.
Yeah.
But I mean, you also have to let your body grow, and you got to play different sports in the off season. Like I still do that. I'll play football, play hockey, play like you just learn other motor patterns by playing other sports, and we used
Yeah.
to do that.
And
So
yeah, I agree.
I
Sorry.
don't think you're, no, that's all good. I don't think anyone's late to anything.
Mm,
I think if you work with the attitude of like, what am I getting out of the work that I'm doing at the sport at the time, then I think that will answer everything that you need to know and do. I mean, like I, I'm not a proponent of doing things without getting the outcome that I'm looking for. So
mm,
I don't care if you start at 17. Pascal Siakam started playing basketball at 13 years old.
sure.
So there's no one or 14 maybe. And Joel Embiid was a soccer player, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So there's so many other examples of people who started playing the sport late. If you're diligent and what you're doing is working for you, I don't think it really matters how late you start playing. I think it matters how you can make the days that you are working on this craft count. That's what I think.
Yeah, and that's the point that I was just going to touch on is, being someone who's in the high school game still is like you mentioned it kind of low key there was like, if what you're doing and when the lights aren't bright isn't what you're going to apply in the game. And I think there is a little bit of that disconnect, especially with, we'll call it what it is with the trainer market out there. It's like, who are the people that are looking out for you? And are they trying to make you like you're talking about, I'm working on getting to my spot. Some
Yeah.
people are working on it in and out hezzy, whatever, right? And the prime example is, and no knock, I'll just give a relative. Last week we had a pro D day. We had an optional shoot for our kids, our high school kids. They come in. I pop out of the pro D just to make sure everything's good. Lights are on. Then like they're all just like standing around and kind of shooting by themselves. I'm like, man, these guys are in grade 11, 12. They don't know how to work out. Like they don't know how to work out. You know what I mean? Like they did. I'm like, so we got everybody in. I was like, who's shooting with who? They're just staring at me. Like, okay, like I see a couple guys got the shooting gun out, but like the rest of you are just kind of walking around shooting jumpers on your own. I'm like, what's the point here? Like,
Yeah.
so
I do
there's-
that.
yeah, and there's a lot to be said. And then you touched on that though. It is true. That's where the separation comes. When you get to a level, the work starts to kind of show. So I think that's good stuff. Speaking of work, like FISU games, all that stuff, like some amazing opportunities. We've had a few athletes that were a part of that, and they talked about how that was just such a cool experience for them. What when you reflect back on moments like those, the other things like the highlight games, the big games. Where were your nationals? Were they in Halifax? Were they all over? Were you in Ottawa? Like I don't know, because
We then
when the old
first,
heads, it just used to be Halifax. Then they started to move it
yeah,
around a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
Halifax was dope though.
I know a lot of people said it was. I never had nationals in Halifax. Actually, funny enough, my first and last year they were both in Ottawa. So
Ah, okay.
here we lost to Western in the first game. So the way our season began with the loss to Western, it ended the same way. That was the year Carleton beat Western and they cheated to go ahead and beat those dudes. Sorry, it's true, man. I don't care. And then my last year, same thing. We lost to Lakehead my last year. And those are the 2 years I went to nationals. My fourth year, third year to fourth year, I got to play for Canada. Definitely one of the proudest moments for
Yeah.
me. I that was one of the reasons I went to Ottawa. Dave told me, he said, I think you can not only be a pro, but I think you can, also play for this country just like Josh. So when I heard that, my eyes lit up
Mm.
and I was like, man, there's nothing better than playing for Canada. You get to be one of the 12, I don't care what level, one of the 12 best players in your country, and you get to go play against other people, that are the best in their countries. So we got to go to China and then Mexico for the Pan Ams and compete in both. So that was
Dope.
a amazing experience. And then yeah, nationals was a fun. I mean,
Mm.
I wish I was the same player I was when I was a little older at that moment. I think the
Mm.
outcome would have been a little different for me, but very, very happy to compete at that level. And that's when I think basketball in this country was at a high level, very high level to play here at CIS level. It was great. It was great. I enjoyed every one of those years for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree, man. I love it. You are a little retro though. You called it CIS, which is good.
Yeah,
I was CIAU, you were CIS, and now it's U Sports. So we are aging ourselves a little bit.
yeah.
But when those years at Ottawa start to come towards an end, and you start, you've mentioned the goal where you're 12, 13. I'm gonna be a pro baller, right? Talk about kind of how that comes to play. What do we do? Who do we connect with? And then just sort of that, you find, listening to so many stories, you find a lot of these things are like chapters, right? We go from
Yeah.
chapter to chapter. And so, um, not winning a national title, throwing shade at Carleton, which is, I expect nothing less than an Ontario represented school to do. But just talk about all that's part of it too, man.
Yeah, no, well, I'll say this about Carlton. They were by far head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah.
They're disciplined. I have nothing but respect for Carlton. Don't,
Yeah.
don't get me twisted. I can just call it what it is.
Mm,
But in terms of uh playing pro my fourth year, I tore my ACL.
yeah.
So, luckily I had a coach, and this is what I'll say about James. When James took over the program, James had a plan of what we were going to do. He said we're going to win it all in my last year. But I also think because James was a young coach,
Sure.
his expectation or what he thought I was, I think James thought I was better than I thought I was.
Mm,
Expectations of me were higher than I think I could even achieve.
mm,
But I have to say he gave me the utmost opportunity to get better every year. And my fifth year, because he made me open up my eyes to being a not only a better teammate, but being a playmaker and someone who could see the floor and not just see the rim as a scorer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That helped me throughout my professional career, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
I could really start to pass the ball. And I believe as a scorer, the better passer you are, the better scorer you are.
Life's easy, man.
It's easier
Yeah.
when the defense doesn't know what you're gonna do, then you know because you can see the floor. So if it wasn't for that, that wouldn't have happened. In terms of the professional career, well, I think most people who know my story, they all know what happened in 2013. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend of mine. His name's Randy Osei. He has a program called Athlete Tech Group. He was like, I think Warren could play in the NBA after watching me at nationals. And then he reached out to somebody else and he was like, yeah, I think Warren could play in the NBA too. So this is when he started to become an agent, Mike
Mm-hmm.
George. And he made a couple phone calls. And I was an add-on to a guy by the name who plays EuroLeague right now by the name of Will Clyburn.
Okay.
So he signed with that agency. I was not signed to that agency, but they were like, he's the best player in Canada. And the guy at Impact was like, I don't even know who this guy is, but they were like, listen, just take Will, but let this guy come too, and you'll see. And essentially, I go to Las Vegas after my last game. We lose to Lakehead. I'm like, okay, it's now or never. I had a couple other Canadian agents really interested in signing me, but I had no decision. Well, I didn't have anyone there yet. I didn't want to go to like, no disrespect in these countries, but I didn't want to go to like Romania and play in like or France Pro B or whatever. I wanted to go to the best because I wanted to get to the EuroLeague. That was my
Mm-hmm.
goal. The NBA was never my goal or dream. I wanted to make millions of dollars playing over there because I like the lifestyle of it. If I got
Yeah.
to the NBA, great. But you have to remember, growing up, that's not something I thought was ever possible for me.
Sure.
So um, it ended up happening. And I think because of the traumatic experience I had with the ACL, this was
Mm-hmm.
like this is like this is like my get back, where I was like, oh, things are working out for me, for whatever
Yeah.
reason. So I go to Las Vegas. Within 5 days, I go from a second team All Canadian to now Steve Kyler at Sports Illustrated saying you need to enter the NBA draft. When he said NBA draft, well, he said no, he didn't say NBA draft. He said you need to enter the draft. When he said the draft, I said what draft? I didn't know what he was talking about because I was like, there's no way. But yeah, within 5 days, everyone there knew who I was. They saw I had the CIS U Sport shorts
Yeah.
on, and everyone was like, they used to call me CIS 8. They call me 8 because of the
To the
short.
final eight.
The final 8 because they didn't know my name, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, who the hell? And I'm going against Peyton Siva. There's a dude from Florida. I think it's
Peyton Siva,
Kenny
that Louisville.
Louisville. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is it Kenny Boykins? He went to
Yep.
Florida. So a lot of these, prolific scorers and bigger name people, but none of them knew my name. They didn't know my game. And I showed up there with nothing to lose and everything to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And within 5 days, like I said, I ended up getting a Sports Illustrated article and a bunch of people calling me and Nike sending me stuff. And now I'm a legitimate draft prospect. But then they find out I did 5 years of school.
Mm.
My draft class is the same year as DeMar DeRozan, which is 2012. I come out of school 2013 because I was injured the year before.
Mm-hmm.
After 4 years of school, no matter where you play in the world, your name is put into the NBA draft, even if you don't know that. It
Mm.
is. They know which 60 that they're going to take, but my name was put in the year before, so I was not draft eligible. But still, that experience definitely changed the trajectory of where I was going to go play pro. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up signing with an agent. I ended up now going to Germany, and I get to play in the first division in Germany, which is what I was looking for. The coach there was like, I think you can, in 2 years, you'll be in the Euro League. And that now I'm hearing what I thought I could do. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how that story went in terms of the opportunity that I was given. And I think why most people, do know my name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. I actually didn't know that about the draft that your name just, but it does make sense because when I was done at Brandon, I was thinking about the possibility of helping coach and Jerry Hemmings. I don't know if you knew Jerry at all.
No, no, no,
Okay.
Jerry.
like 700 wins there, but he's a crazy North Carolinian. I don't even know if you call it a North Carolinian, but he was wild. Like he could recruit like crazy. He
Okay.
first coaches meeting, he's got like the list, he got the full booklet of all the names, at least of the people who actually ended up declaring. And he
Hmm.
wanted us to go through everyone that didn't get drafted and call them that still had eligibility and see if they would come play Brand. It was like wild, man. I was like,
That's
I
smart.
think I'm just going to finish my education degree. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that seems like a lot of work, man. But like, yeah, that's crazy, man. And also good perspective too. I mean, especially on the WNBA side, a lot of the women we've interviewed have talked about that. The W isn't always what it was, right? So a lot of them, their focus was how do I get that best contract in Europe? I can live a good life. I'll get a car, I'll get an apartment, I'm banking most of my money, and I get to see
Oh,
the world. Like it's a pretty good living, right? So it's
amazing.
yeah, yeah. And I think we've kind of there's a better understanding of that now, and people know that that's right. Like we had Pangos on the pod, and he talked about that. He's like, I was hyped to finally make the Cavs, but I'm way more hyped to play overseas, and he's probably getting paid high six figures or whatever, and family and everything. So yeah, man. Talk about that though. The next transition for you, and that's a lot to go through between the ACL. All of a sudden, you're crossing over Peyton Siva. Like there's a lot of things, and I can see why you're getting into that side platform of your podcast of that journey because of all the things that you went through. There must have been a point where you're like, man, there's got to be a whole bunch of other people that have the same story as me, or even more challenging, right? So you're
Absolutely.
connecting some dots here.
And that was probably the first time in my life where, um, I think most people want to be successful and most people want to be wealthy and most people want to be stars. And, I really do believe that. I think most people want to achieve the greatest joy for themselves. I mean, whatever that looks like.
Sure.
This was the first time in my life where that was good, like that was happening.
Hmm.
So it's like I am now believing who I thought I was when I was a 12-year-old kid, and who I used to tell myself I'm this good and I could do this, and then it actually happens and you're in this environment, and then it's kind of scary. It's like maybe I am this good, and then but then you start having doubts, and so that, yeah, it was a big transition, and I didn't make the best decisions all the time in that point in my life, for sure. But it led me to where I am, and then I end up going overseas, and even that was very up and down, and I couldn't stay healthy for more than 3 years at a time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And we know, like, especially over there, a lot of those contracts, like, they're not signing you for 6 years, right? Like,
Oh,
it's year
one
to
plus
year,
one.
even months to
Yeah.
month. Yeah, like one
Yeah.
year, and so injuries become even that bigger because it's like, well, I don't have any tape. How do I prove that I'm healthy? And just sort of that mental side of it, that the ups and downs, right? And you've lived it, man. So at what point did you know, all right, like this part of the journey, I think I gotta, and why? Was it overall health? Was it
Yeah.
mental health? Was it just the body just couldn't do it anymore?
Well, I was lucky enough to go from, well, not lucky. I should never have gone. I played in Germany for a year. I should have been there for two, didn't get a second opportunity. Ended up going to France, should never have been there. Had a contract dispute, leave France, come back home, play for Mississauga. This is when I met John Wiggins, who's now with
Mm,
the Raptors. Tear my Achilles in 7 games playing for John Wiggins. So after the Achilles, I'm like knee, now Achilles. I'm like, I'm done. That's it.
same leg?
No,
Different.
right knee first, left leg.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I'm done. I tell myself that. My physio was like, you're not done. He's
Mm.
like, get that shit out of your mind. You're not done. And within 4 months, I could dunk again after tearing my, yeah, yeah, yeah. He used to call me Wolverine because I would,
Some Junior Cadogan type ish, man. That's
yeah, yeah. I would heal really fast. So,
damn.
yeah, I was, and then 6 months I could play. I didn't play in 6 months. I played a little bit after that,
Hmm.
but I came back, and then I go to Spain. I finally get my opportunity to go in Spain. This is my last year. This is year number 6, basically. And I'm playing. This is probably the best professional basketball I played. in my career. My team is they were like a 13th place team in Spain. We're playing Leb Gold. So I tell my agent, because I've been healthy for 2 years, teams in Europe are like, we like him, but we can get someone else who hasn't had this injury, whatever, same age,
The game, right?
the
The
game,
game.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
finally get a coach in Spain who likes me, and I tell my agent, give me 6 months, give me half the season. I'm gonna get signed. I'm gonna get signed to an ACBT. I promise. I'm gonna get signed.
Mm.
So 6 months go by. It's January 28th, 2018. And I'll never forget the date, because that's the last game. That's the last professional game that I played. And I tear my ACL again. I get my left knee this time. I get a steal. Remember, I don't play defense. I get a steal, and I'm running up the court,
Must have thrown it
and
right to you. Yeah.
right. I do a Euro step, and the big man clips my right hip, my left knee buckles, and it's around 2 minutes and change before halftime. I walk off the court. My agent calls me because he's watching the game, and he goes, "What's up?" I was like, "I don't know, man." I said, "I don't think this is it." And I'm in the locker room, and I just said, "I'm done." That was
Mm.
it. I said, "I'm done." That was all she wrote for me. He goes, "Man, Japusqua, they just called to buy you out of your contract." Same day, same day. So that's how it ended. My buyout was 500 euros, so next to nothing.
Yeah.
But they were interested. My team at the point, and that point in time, was I think was in sixth place. So they went from 13th to sixth. We had a bunch of injuries. I was playing a lot of minutes. Like out of 40, I think I was playing like 35 to 36 minutes a game,
Damn.
four positions, so
Yeah.
won a whole lot for the team because of just the fact that they were low budget. They didn't have a lot of players.
Yeah.
We weren't that good, but at the time, we were moving up, and I loved playing there. I loved it. It was fun. I thought this was the beginning of me spending the rest of my career in Spain.
Mm.
My parents were going to come out the month after, in February, and they never got to go. And that
Mm.
was probably the most disappointing thing. But,
Mm.
career ended, and I just had to make peace with it. I said if I had three injuries, I'd be done. That was the third one, and it was time to let it go. And I just had I didn't really say I was like I missed it or I was upset that that's how it ended. I
Mm.
just it was time to be done.
Just your heart was just telling you. I mean, yeah, I guess sometimes we just know, right? And I mean, you say three injuries, but those are also like major injuries.
Major
But
injuries. Yeah, yeah,
but I
exactly.
think, yeah, and I think for each person, some people might have been like, nah, I'm gonna attack this rehab. And then sometimes our heart or brain, and we just trust it and go, which you've been leaning on your entire life and career, is going, you know what? I think it's time, right? And that's part of the part that you're talking about at the beginning of sort of that darkness and that figure it out. And then now what? What's my next move? And um, before we find out what concert you want to go to, if you read your email,
Yeah.
just talk about that part of it, because I think it's huge. It's a huge part. I don't want to steal your show. It's yeah, this is your podcast, but I think it's such because there's so many podcasts out there, right? You can find anything about anything, right? Yours is actually quite unique in the sense of what you guys are talking about. And I attached to it a little bit too, because after finishing, it was like I could go play overseas, but I think I want to finish school. And then sort of just being like, all right, I'm no longer Aaron Mitchell, the basketball player. I'm a teacher, like what, and so that there is a whole bunch of stuff there. And
Mhm.
when it ends injury wise and your body, I don't want to use the term gives out, but lets you know time is done. How do you find a way to move on? And I'm sure it was lots of ups and downs.
I still think I'm transitioning from it.
Sure.
I still to this day, I still, and not because I miss basketball and I want to play, but
No.
because like the decisions I made at a young age are affected me now. And I think
Hmm.
that's the part that you have to live with, when everyone who practices to be Jordan and Kobe. We don't practice to be a role player, and
Yeah.
no one's trying to do that. So,
Yeah.
in my situation, it was more so like I'm living with, like I said, the consequences of the choices I made at a young age. And for some people, it works out tremendously and they're blessed. And other people, it may not work out the same way. But I think the end result of that is the same,
Mm.
where you have to decide, what do I want to do now? And like you were, as you said just now, you were Aaron Mitchell, the basketball player. Now you're Aaron Mitchell, the teacher. Like you're not those things. You're Aaron Mitchell, the brother, the husband, the father. There's so
Mm,
many other things that can't be taken from you. And one of the podcasts was with May Kotsopoulos, who was she played pro overseas, then she worked at the same company I did, Salesforce, and she was a VP. I was not a VP at Salesforce. She worked her way up all the way as a VP, and she got laid off. I left the company a month before the massive layoffs. She stayed obviously and got laid off. And then she says now, whenever she says, people ask because we want to group people into where they are. So we ask you usually, what do you do? And once you
mm,
tell someone what you do, they create a judgment about you, and
facts.
no matter what they tell you, they put a judgment. If I tell you I'm a CEO, then you're gonna assume I do things as other CEOs, what I mean, that you know of. If I tell you I'm a janitor, you're gonna assume that I'm someone who's living the lifestyle, what I mean, that you can think of a janitor. So
Mm,
she says I no longer say anything to do with any of that. I just say things that can never be taken from me. So I'm a sister, I'm a fiance or whatever. I'm all these different things that cannot be taken from me. And I took that from her episode because I think that's such a profound thing to think about and say, because we often look for labels of how to identify ourselves. And basketball is one of those labels. It's just the one that, like, if you have that label for 20 years, it don't matter how much money you made. If I take that away from you, the money is actually irrelevant, because the
mm,
because the thing that allows you to make the money is no longer here. You got to do something else. And
mm,
you're never going to do it with the same passion and vigor and the same enthusiasm that you did it with your sport, because you started playing the sport because you love it. You kept doing it because you love it. And
mm,
that's why I think it's so hard. So we discuss that, and we discuss how you go from one thing to the other. So
mm,
I'm not, this is not the podcast is not for sympathy. It's not so we can complain about becoming athletes and doing something else. It's nothing to do with that. It's more so about, oh, I'm a broadcaster now. Well, this is how I became one. These are the people that helped me do this. This is how you can take what I've done and do this as well. I stopped playing at 28. This is how much money I had at the time. This is what I chose to do with it. I'm such and such person. This is what I had when I stopped playing. After I stopped playing, this is what I did. This is who I reached out to, and I followed these steps to get to where I wanted to get to, because we often only talk about the end result. As I said earlier in the pod, we only care about the results, and that is just how our society is. And I'm not complaining about that, but as a basketball player, there was a way that I did things so that when the lights came on at 7:30, I could perform. I think the podcast is no different. There's a way that you can do things so that you can go ahead and take what someone said and apply it to your own life, because there will be more people who do not make it to that level than there are those that, what I mean, that do. And I wish there was a resource there that I could have listened to when I was in my parents' basement. You know,
mm,
my parents are at work, my sisters are at work, and I'm at home. I don't have nothing to do. I don't have a job yet. I
mm,
wasn't doing anything. So that's what the podcast is for. And I hope we are, not say filling that void, but I definitely hope we are um able, and it's a team. I have a team of 6 people that help me do it. I hope that we are meeting that call, and it's resonating with people.
damn. Love it, man. Free game here. Um, I started getting a little, my hair started standing on my arm the way you were talking, man. For real, for real. Like, it's taken me a long time to get to the same thinking as you, not even just about kind of, but just in life in general, and having that sort of, sort of meditative, clear mind, sort of growth mentality. And I've had my own ups and downs with that. But I think I'm just connecting to this huge because, like, selfishly, um, telling people like, hey, I'm taking a step back from coaching. Because you said right off the bat, you're like, oh, you coach high school. How do you like that? But there was your question. There was more to it. I was like, he's leaning in. Like,
Yeah,
he's not
yeah.
he's not just
Yeah.
surface level asking. Like, there's
No.
more to this, right? And I'm like, okay. And then for me now, when I tell people, I'm like, I'm taking a step back. It's like, oh my God, like what? Like, oh, you've won provincial championships. You've done, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm a dad, and like my wife and I had 7 miscarriages and we adopted our son and it took us a long time to be parents. So there's that part of my story. Like, so all the things you just said to me are just like they're coming at me in waves, man, because it's so true. Uh, about really what you're saying of, and I love that approach of like your former guest saying, I don't give any of that. I tell them all the things I do with my life that can't be taken away. That's powerful, powerful shit right there. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. That's good stuff, man.
My pleasure, man. I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's I don't hide it and it's who I am and it's just funny because it's like people are like, "Oh, you're not coaching," and I'm going, "Is it really that big of a deal?" I was like, "I got so many other things I'm like
That's
loving
I
this
was about to
podcast."
say. You're so much. I'm sure Aaron
Yeah.
Mitchell's so much more than just a basketball coach, but
Mhm.
that's how people identify you. And once you have a
Yeah.
label, it's hard for even them to see. That's why most athletes, people are like, "No, yo, keep going, keep." You know, how many
Yeah.
people told me that. I'm.
Yeah.
Well, have you spent a year and a half on crutches? I have.
Yeah.
You know what that's like?
Yeah.
Do you know what it's like to earn money, then lose it all in rehab? And
Yeah.
do you just like to have plans and then not be able to do them? I know what that's like. So it's easy to say keep going because that's what you know me as,
Sure.
but I'm so much more than that,
Hmm.
for sure.
100%. That's
Yeah.
yeah, man. Yeah. Have you been injured overseas with no one to like reach out to other than a FaceTime? Anyways, go on and on. Yeah, it's good, man.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right?
The last one was
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man. Drinking
Good
a bottle
stuff.
of wine a night.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt. No doubt.
yeah.
Good stuff, man. Appreciate it. Let's do some fun questions and some little reflective stuff. We'll get you on your way. Sound good?
I'm with it. No
All right, my
problem.
guy. Okay. Pick one or two historical figures. If you could chop it up with them and have a meaningful conversation, who would those people be?
Well, I read the question. I wrote him down because I wanted to be sure. Malcolm
Uh,
X,
yes. Okay.
X, and Marcus Aurelius.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to expand it all, or just the names
On
say
which one?
enough?
On which one?
Both. Yeah.
Yeah, Malcolm X, because I just love the duality of his life. He wasn't an athlete, but he lived one life, stopped and completely 360'd into something else. And I would love to ask him if he was alive now, if he would be proud of where we are as a society. I would love to know that.
Mm,
And not just black people. I mean,
for
everybody
sure.
on living the face of the earth, like what his thoughts would be on where we are. And then Marcus Aurelius, because I have a friend, one of my good friends has a tattoo of him, and I never understood why. And I started reading about him, and a guy who had everything. One of the richest men in the world, one of a leader in his community. He had everything, and he had all the stoicism and all of the humbleness you could ever want. And I would love to have a conversation with him about his philosophies on how to live life because they still apply today. So, um,
Love it.
yeah,
L-
those two people for sure.
Good stuff. Love the stoicism too. That's good stuff. Okay. You just finished a great episode of the pod. You hop in the whip, you're on your way back. But it's like quiet night for you. You're gonna get munchy and you're gonna grab a bag of chips. What bag of chips are you grabbing, man? What do you
Yeah,
got?
that's a good one. I had to think about that for a good like 2 minutes. I was like, man,
Serious
what?
question.
Yeah, very serious. It says a lot about you. Um, I would love to reverse the question to you. I'm going to use my reverse Uno card. What chips are you eating?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go probably Ruffles all dressed.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Um,
Nope.
if I'm giving you like a top three, there's probably nacho cheese Doritos in there, and there's some form of ketchup. I'm not picky. I'll keep it Canadian. They can be
Yeah,
spicy. They can be spicy Vickies. They can be Old Dutch. Like
yeah.
I'll keep it real with some ketchup too.
I am so for me,
Yeah,
I would have to go with Lay's ketchup chips, man. Lay's ketchup is probably the one I'm gonna go to, but do not sleep on Tostitos. I love just a regular nature Ruffles. I know. Those three, but Tostitos and dip though. I have to get
yeah,
salsa or the
sure.
queso dip, or
Okay,
I'll
so
make
you're not,
my
yeah,
own queso.
not just
Just
straight up dry. Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for
Actually, it
sure.
was funny on the Saturday. It was like a rainy Saturday. We were driving home. My wife was like, "What do you want to do for dinner?" I was like, "I don't know. We didn't take anything out." And my son wanted to watch the Royal Rumble, so we like put on this like we made a huge plate of nachos. It was awesome, and we had
Bro,
Tostitos.
fire,
Yeah, right.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah,
Super Bowl weekend, we're gonna have some of that too. Trust me.
yeah. All right. If you could eat one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Easy, chicken and waffles.
Straight up. That's it.
That's it, man. Chicken
You
and
got a
waffles.
spot? You got a spot you go to? Or
Not here. I gotta be in the States. I gotta go to
yeah.
Atlanta or Dallas or something. I used to be in Dallas for a bit, so
Okay.
that's one of my favorite foods. And I'm Caribbean, so trust me, I know. I wouldn't. I'm leaving out all the curry goat, all that. I'm leaving
Yeah.
all that out. But I love chicken and waffles. It's probably my favorite meal. Yeah, I know. I
Passed
know.
on all the heritage, passed on the lineage,
All
and went straight chicken waffles.
pepper pot,
You know
all
he's
of
a
it.
fan.
I passed up all my own heritage and just went straight chicken and waffles. I know if it was my last meal, I feel like I eat every day chicken and waffles for sure.
Hey, it's your story, your journey, my guy. It's all good. Dead or alive, maybe you've seen them before or not. You got the best seat in the house. What concert do we want to go to see?
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson for sure.
Very, very popular answer on this because I think a lot of people didn't get the
Nope.
opportunity, and you know that show would have been a
Oh
whole
man.
nother level, right?
I seen the woman in Bucharest fainted and
Right?
she's way at the back.
Yeah.
She was up close. She was at the back and she fainted. I'm like, yeah, no, this is different. Like I've been to a lot. I'm a big music head, so I've been to a
Yeah.
lot of concerts. But I would love to go to a Michael Jackson show. Love to. I think
Nice.
the closest thing we have is Chris Brown. I've seen him.
Yep.
But Michael Jackson would be the cream of the crop for me.
Perfect. What is on the aux or like what's on the Bluetooth when you're driving around the city? Give us an
Uh,
idea. Is it all over the place?
Yeah, I'm a big random guy. So I got like my shuffle on all the time. So
Me too.
uh Sunday I have a playlist though. I have a Sunday playlist that I play
Okay.
every Sunday, no matter what I do. I usually go home and see my parents on Sunday. So I play that playlist on the way home, and that's all like Anita Baker, and
Yeah.
it's good soul music. And then other than that, I'm a big Don Toliver fan, big Travis
Okay.
Scott fan.
Okay.
Got a little Drake in there, a little Kendrick in there, even though them two hate each other. All that.
Yep.
I got a wide variety of different music. Yeah, I'm a definitely my music tastes are all over the place. Actually, I'm a big lover of house music. So
Really?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Afro house, deep house. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
find as I get older too, I hit the shuffle too and I'm good. But
yeah, yeah.
Kendrick coming up. You think Lil Wayne's gonna make an appearance on Sunday? Is he still mad? Is he gonna? He's got to, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope
I
so
hope he
too.
gives him a little segment, and or I think that would make things phenomenal for Kendrick. I think it would speak volumes to Kendrick. I mean, I understand why Lil Wayne would want to perform at Super Bowl,
Hmm.
but Lil Wayne is not like he's not a headliner anymore.
No,
You
no,
know, I mean,
that's
as
facts. Yep.
one of my favorite rappers of all time, and like
Hmm.
I even got into rap music and rhyming because of Lil Wayne. My cousin put me on Lil Wayne, so
Right.
but I'm not, I'll be honest to say, I don't think young people or people in this generation want to hear Lil Wayne rap at this point in time
I would agree.
as a headliner.
Well, it's like a couple of years ago, like if they had just Eminem or just 50 or just Snoop or just Dre, they would be like, man, but you throw them all together, we got ourselves a party, right? So
Yeah, so
yeah,
it's great.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. For sure.
Okay, two more questions. Is there a book or a movie that you still recall or remember today? Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's 101 movies for sure.
movie guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Big movie guy. I already mentioned one,
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption's another good one.
So good.
Uh, in terms of books, I mean, I could go on with the movies. Like I said, I got a lot of those.
Yeah.
Anything Denzel's done, Training Day. I mean, you pretty much, I love all those movies. I actually like Marvel movies, so
Yeah.
Captain America, all the Marvel movies are really good.
They're really well done, actually. I watched a
Yeah.
couple with my son. They're well done. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. The
Yeah.
Matrix is another good
Aye.
one. Good Will Hunting, probably one
Woo.
of my favorites as well.
How you like them apples?
Yeah. In terms of a book, yeah, Outliers, Story of Success by Malcolm
Ah,
Gladwell.
there you go.
Malcolm Gladwell is probably my favorite author. I would
Okay.
love to meet Malcolm Gladwell. His books, especially when I was injured, they just got me to think so different, you know.
Mm,
I think as an author that's that's what you want to do, and he's changed a lot of my perceptions in terms of how I see things, the stories I challenge myself. Even his book David and Goliath, I recommend. That's another good one.
mm,
That's about how we have that story backwards. So
mhm.
I would say those two.
Love it. Love it, man. Listen, amazing episode. One thing we always like, and it's really helped to connect with some really dope people, is who would you like to see on a Hoops Journey podcast? But you're
May
the plug.
Kotsopoulos.
What?
May Kotsopoulos for sure.
Okay, you're the plug though.
Yeah, for sure. I saw
Okay,
that in there too. Yeah. I will message her to get in touch with you.
okay.
But there's a few. I think the few people we've had on the pod would definitely, serve well speaking to you. You're a great host. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
This has
man.
been a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Amazing. It has been a lot of fun. And I like you mentioned on your show, I selfishly love it because I always have takeaways too. When I take these off and I type up the write up, my brain is just like this, and it takes me
Great.
time to unwind and think about all that I've processed, and I've taken a lot away, uh, personally, professionally, and continued success to you, man. You're in a good space. You're growing. You're learning. You're reaching out. You're connecting with people, and I'm really, really grateful you took the time. Last reflections before we let you go, my guy.
Last reflections.
Yeah, anything. What you got?
Um, well, carpe diem, you got to seize the day. So I tell
Hey,
people that all the time, and be good to people, and have integrity. Walk with integrity. Whatever you say you're gonna do, and you show up for people, you do it. And again, thank you for giving me the platform and a chance to go ahead and speak. I don't take that for granted. So, I think everyone speaks with the intention to be heard. So I hope whatever I said resonates with someone, and someone out there actually, listens to it and takes whatever nugget I gave, and same to you. So, thank you
oh,
for
this was a 12-piece nugget, man. Everyone speaks with the intention to be heard. Let's end it on that note.
that.
Episode 153, an absolute banger with one of the best hoopers U Sport has ever seen, but also someone who's become an even better human in his post basketball life. And for that, we are grateful. We will see you on the next one.